So it's been a long time since I've done one of these review videos, but something really cool happened where I got sent a review copy of a board game for the very first time. Sam Macdonald from Garphill Games contacted me and he said, hey, we got this Circadians Chaos Order coming and we were wondering if you wanted to do a review of it. And I was very excited to oblige. And so I played it and I thought that it really deserved the punchboard party treatment. So get ready for lots of close-ups of my face and a lot of random movie clips. Circadians Chaos Order are about these guys. No wait, these guys. Maybe it's about these guys? How about these guys? I think it's about these guys. Maybe even these guys? You can tell right away just looking at the board that this is inspired by all sorts of favorite science fiction IPs all blended together. And I gotta say, Sam Phillips does an amazing job with the art on this game. I love the cartoony quality. I also like the pseudo-realism he throws in here. It just really brings it to life, and the color and the vibrancy. Just thank you, Sam. So what have S.J. Macdonald and Zachary Smith designed in this game? They have created a huge, meaty, asymmetrical, area control, dudes on a map, economic engine, action selection board game. This is a behemoth. This is huge. This is long. This is great. I was really nervous getting my first review copy in the mail for a board game because I wanted to be as honest as possible for you party people to just let you know exactly what I thought about the game one way or another. But I also didn't want to upset anybody or make people feel like they wouldn't want to work with me in the future. But I decided I was just going to tell the truth. And so as I was playing this game for the very first time, my shoulders were up. I was tense because I was just hoping that this was going to be a good game. Just like not even a full round in and my shoulders relaxed when I realized that this is an excellent, mechanically sound, tension-filled, delicious, rich treat of a game. Let's just talk a little bit more about what's going on here. I'd say first and foremost, this is a conflict-based dudes on a map game. Battling is integral to this whole thing. You are not going to do well unless you lunge headlong into battle.
Do you want to go to war, Malaki?
No.
Because we could go to war.
No.
I'm for real.
These tactics cards are going to be your saving grace in all of the different conflicts that you get involved in. They have numbers on either side of the card, and these line up perfectly with this battle wheel. So you change the values of what the battle wheel is doing. So you're either going to attack in battle, or maybe you're going to do a lot of strength stuff in battle, or maybe you're just going to run away and try and defend as much as possible. These tactic cards are going to let you do that, and they're also going to give you special abilities during conflict, or you can spend them during the round for other stuff.
To see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did you see?
14,605,000.
Right off the bat, resolving conflict in games might turn you off completely. But I want to assure you that in this game, I was pleasantly surprised that the battles resolved quickly, easily, and they weren't too crazy swingy. There is an opportunity to roll these dice, but the lowest roll you're ever going to have is a 1 strength, and the highest you're ever going to have is a 4 strength, and anywhere in between those. But the values that you already have on your tactics cards and the fighters on the board, you're really, it's going to make the difference potentially, but not by a large margin. So you're never going to feel totally outdone by, and it's just one reveal of the dial and your tactics card, and the battle is done. The other main artery in this game are the action or research tracks. This is an amazing aspect of the game. You use these tokens to select the action that you would like to do for free, and then if anybody else wants to do that action, your opponents have to pay you, and they pay you what's in the colored section, and then they pay even more energy to the bank from the orange section. So you can kind of outprice people from actions that they really need to do on any given turn. What's really excellent about the research tracks is that there is an action that allows you to move your tokens up the other research tracks, effectively making other actions in the game stronger for you. And so there's this engine building thing going on that's really fascinating to manage, and each area on the research track, when you go and do an action, it'll also allow you the possibility to do a bonus action. And often moving up the research track and doing these bonus actions, a particular resource really comes in handy. The gems, what I would say are the secret sauce of this game. These little guys are either going to be a blessing for you throughout the game or a pain in your butt.
I've touched the forbidden treasure. Now you will never again see the light of day.
Father Greg really got bit with the gem situation, where he had the opportunity to pay a gem to do a luxury action on the research track during the game round. He hummed and hawed, and then he decided to do it. There you go, bye-bye gem. And then it came time to resolve a conflict with Dave. And Dave had one gem left and was able to then afford to pay to use a die to add to his strength in the conflict. Father Greg did not have that luxury anymore. And it came down to that additional die roll. And it was just a laugh out loud moment for us around the table. Of just realizing how critical and crucial it is to choose when to spend, when to receive, when to gain gems, really is in this game. So this is a big, giant dudes on a map game. But where are the minis? This is gonna be a critical question for some of you, but I really love the shift away from having miniatures all over the place and plastic all over the place for a game like this. The game centers around these relics. This is one of the main endgame conditions, where when you control all the remaining relics, you win the game. And they're giant, and they're cool looking, and they would look cooler as a mini. And then you have all of your fighters out on the board. And the Circadians themselves, they have their drop ship. Things like this are no-brainers for miniatures. But you know what? Garphill Games decided to go a different route.
How else can I say it? You're being let go, your department's being downsized, you're part of an outplacement. We're going in a different direction, we're not picking up your option. Take your pick.
I checked on my local online retailer for the pre-order price on this, and we're talking $51 Canadian, and you get a game. Up until this point, the benchmark for how much game you could fit in a box with the lowest price point was Bora Bora from Aaliyah and Ravensburger. They do fine components and lots of chunky tactile wood, but the amount of mechanisms and things that you get to play with, even though they're not deluxeified or decked out, you get a lot of game to play with here. And Circadians Chaos Order is outdoing itself in that regard here. I think this is an amazing choice. I think it beckons for a new cultural shift in the hobby. I think the more that we can allow board game developers to do this kind of thing, the better for the hobby, and the game is no worse for wear because of this choice. Speaking of stuff, the game comes with all of these tuck boxes that keep all of a particular faction's bits and minis, buildings, all this kind of stuff into one cool container. And this is where the game gets kind of nuts. You get all sorts of asymmetrical factions with boards that are unique in certain ways, where you put buildings on them. If you win a relic at the end of a round, you get to place it onto the board for some bonuses. Here, each faction kind of has some own quirky thing. These guys have these tokens that go on the board, and the more tokens that are on the board, the more fame points, which is another way of winning the game. You get more of them. Just every faction has its own kind of uniquenesses. The asymmetry in this game is not just a gimmick. It's real, like real asymmetry. These factions work totally different. Not to the extent of something like Root. There is still a core function that every faction shares in terms of getting into conflict, developing their buildings, getting resources, harvesting well, optimizing their resource engine, controlling relic sites. All these things are shared, but yet the way the factions can alternatively win are quite different. And this is where things get a little off the rails for some people. This is going to be my only criticism of the game, and it is only a criticism of preference, and it's not necessarily my own preference.
That it says, I would prefer not to.
I first played this game as the Zakaro, and they have this really neat ability to turn the research action into fame points, but they have a longer fame track, but you just keep on pumping out those points by researching, and researching is gonna make you more powerful anyway. And so I felt like I had a straight shot understanding of what I was doing in the game. Second time I played the game, I was these guys, the Larian, right? And all of a sudden, I was left realizing, I don't know how to utilize these guys. I don't really know how my strengths and weaknesses match up against Father Greg's strength and weaknesses as the Circadians, the dropship guys. And what ended up happening was, as I thought I had a relatively good understanding of what he was up to, where all of a sudden he was saying, actually my strongholds make it so that they count for an additional region. So I actually have 8 regions controlled here, and because I have 8 regions controlled here, I can upgrade 2 of my cards, and that's kind of my personal win condition. So I'll upgrade my 4 cards here to their yellow side, and I win. And I was like, what? Wait, no! So there's no question here. The rules overhead is extensive. We were learning this game for an hour and a half before we actually got to playing it. By the time we kind of had our questions answered by flipping through the rule book, by the time we got a handle of our own individual factions, the player aids are really excellent. They have tips for fighting this faction and for being this faction. So it prepares you well and it guides you well. It's just no human being can keep all the stuff you need to keep in your head about the factions in your head while you're playing your first couple of games. And the length of this game is really gonna turn some people off. This is gonna be 3.5 hours. We played at 3 players. This is gonna be 4 hours with more players, 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm not even thinking that that's just a learning game. I think that's just going to be the length of this game.
What does that mean, Cole? It means tick-tock.
But here's the thing, party people. The entire time I was fully engaged in the mechanisms that this game provides. Not 1 minute that I wasn't thinking about how to occupy one of these relics, or if I should go and try and get the last 3 or 2 relics on the board, or if I should continue racing up my fame track, and how the different ways that I could outprice my opponents, would that actually be beneficial to me, or do I want to keep the price moderate so I get more energy for the round so that I can actually do the actions that I want to do throughout the entire phase. This game has so many moving parts and pieces, and it's going to send your head spinning. You spin my head right around, right around. But once we got playing, it was smooth, it was intuitive. I keep on coming back to this action track. And that's because it's a real lifesaver for this game not becoming too overwhelming for players. Once the round starts, you just follow everything the research track over here has to offer. You just kind of go down the line. Set prices, discover, build, harvest, recruit, move, combat, gain income, check relics. You just follow the flow. And that really gives a nice roadmap as you're playing the game and keeps you from feeling too lost ever. So here's the deal, party people. I've really been coming into my own with these dudes on a map games. I've been really falling in love with things like Cry Havoc, Cyclades, even something like Brian Baru, just kind of strict more area control style. The King is Dead. Just this style of area control, combat, conflict in games has really grown on me. So this game came at a perfect time and landed right into where I am as a hobby gamer at this time. So I am loving Circadians Chaos Order for that reason, and I'm chomping at the bit to get this to the table again, even after I get this video up. But party people, if you already own games like Gaia Project or Scythe or even Ankh or Blood Rage, and you struggle to get those to the table for any whichever reason, you might want to consider that when you're deciding whether you want to purchase this game or not. This comes as a high recommend for me, but all of the obstacles that you have in board games to getting games to the table, this has it. An extensive, hard rules teach, asymmetry that leaves you relearning the game a couple times in a row, play after play. It comes with a long playtime, however, arguably more accessible and smooth to play than other games of this ilk. This is going to be staying in my collection. I'm going to be getting it to the table come hell or high water.
And to be clear, I am the hell and the high water.
This is fantastic. This is fun. This is inspired. So, Sam Macdonald, Zachary Smith, you guys knocked it out of the park. Shem, Garphill Games, Sam, you guys rocked this one. These guys, I don't know if they can make a bad game. So party people, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you gonna try and check this out? Are you gonna buy it? Are you gonna be able to get it to the table? And if you do, please let me know how you enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps. And until next time, party people, have the best day.